It's California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Ian Parkinson is joining us today. He is the sheriff for San Luis Obispo County. And recently, the Los Angeles Times issued an analysis, statewide analysis of AB 109 prison realignment, what we call as the program whereby lower level offenders are being sent to county jails, such as in San Luis Obispo County. In the most general proposition, what the analysis found is that parole violators, those convicted of domestic violence, child abuse, low-level drug use, DUIs, they're serving virtually no time at all because the county prisons, or jails, I should say, don't have space. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair, and it really depends on the population of your local jails, but it obviously makes sense when you're full already and you add more people, something has to give, and typically it's the low-level offenders that are released early. But that's happening in some communities, not all communities. It's not happening in our community as compared to Los Angeles.
So in Monterey County, just up north, they have a policy called the 5-day kick. What does that mean? Whatever your sentence is, they reduce it immediately by 5 days. Fresno County, not far, uses a ranking system. If you have a 3-month sentence, it winds up you serve 19 days. Query whether this is what we want, even though these are low-level offenders.
Well, and we have a 5-day kick as well, but it's
do?
for different reasons, and so it depends how they're applied. And in the two counties you mentioned, they both have caps, so they're obligated to reduce their jail population
By court.
By court. And for us, it's a matter of managing our population more efficiently. So when we talk about a 5-day kick, it's looking to get somebody started going out in release that has a plan. So we want them to have a plan of release. So you can use it for different purposes, but it is certainly affecting the prison or the county jail population.
I want to ask you about bail, because as I understand it, part of the reason why the county jails are so impacted is a lot of folks can't make bail. And so there's a question whether our bail amounts are too high. And when I say they can't make bail, meaning they're just awaiting trial. Is that the best use of our resources to keep someone in the county jail because they can't make bail? Should we reanalyze the numbers?
Well, you're absolutely right, and I think most places, the majority of their population, in some cases, for example, for us, it's about 60% on average of our population is pre-sentence people that just cannot make bail.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. We have to look at better ways to how to manage that population. How do we get them out? Because the reality is, if they had the money, they'd be out anyways. So how can we do this? How can we get them out in some type of reduced bail and make the population, our citizens, feel safe as well?
Is there the political will to reduce bail amounts? And again, we're not talking about reducing bail for murderers, rapists. We're talking about reducing bail amounts for DUIs. I mean, a very serious offense, don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think the challenge is this. No matter what offense you're looking at, take the DUI as an example. Your first time offense DUI, they don't bail out in most counties. They get released on an OR. So if they have multiple offense, then you have to make the decision as the sheriff by policy or by court whether or not they should be released. And if they are released and they have a drinking problem, or if they have multiple DUIs, they probably do, and they go out and hurt somebody, then you got that responsibility. So it's a tough one, even for the minor offenses.
So what do you think will happen on this bail question? Because it does seem as if it's one that's getting kind of pushed into the forefront. Do you think we'll see reform?
I think we will, and I guess the way to look at it, Brad, I guess from my perspective is it's a good challenge. We're challenged by this, and so we have to be creative in looking at ways to protect the population, our citizens in our county, and accomplish what we need to accomplish. So I think it will give.
When we come back, I want to talk more about a new position that you recently assumed. It's a statewide position. For our viewers on HLN, thank you for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back on California Edition. So, sir, I understand that you were recently honored by an appointment through Governor Jerry Brown, and that appointment is to the California Seismic Safety Commission. One might say, why would a sheriff be appointed to that commission? But in a lot of ways, it makes sense, given that we in San Luis County have Diablo Canyon right nearby, and it's a location that has some concerns regarding earthquakes. Is that fair?
Yes.
So talk to us. Yeah. So how did this all happen for you?
Well, you're absolutely right. So my question, why is the sheriff being appointed? So essentially, if you look at the group as a group that looks at prevention,
Right.
preparation, and then recovery of earthquakes. And so we each have a role on the commission. And my role, of course, from the law enforcement perspective, and we have a fire captain on the commission as well.
Right. I know him in Riverside.
Yes,
Tim
he's
Stack, I think is his
He's
last
actually
name.
the chair of the commission.
Right,
now.
I know him.
And so it's a group of people that come
Yeah.
together and look at the earthquakes. And as far as affecting us, you're absolutely right. The reason I was interested in it and
Right.
was interested in pursuing the appointment is because of Diablo and because of our earthquake. And I think it's a good thing for our citizens.
Yeah, Atascadero had a pretty serious earthquake about 10 years ago.
Paso Robles.
Or Paso Robles. And we also know, as a matter of fact, that recently there was an earthquake in Napa. If you had been the Napa sheriff, surely you would have been implicated in the recovery. They had fires and they had some serious incidents occur.
Absolutely. And I think from the kind of prospective position moving forward after the Napa earthquake as an example, for the commission to go up, we're going up in October to review their response and what happened in an earthquake, to make recommendations and learn from what they did. And what they did was, they might be, did everything, terrific and spot on, but we can pass those messages on and make recommendations to the governor's office.
I'm sure you also read, and if you didn't, forgive me, I know you're new to the commission, but there was an early warning in Berkeley. Berkeley has an early warning system. They got about 10 seconds. Not a lot, but 10 seconds gets you under a table. It gets you in an open field or whatever it is. And so a lot of chatter about whether California needs to recommit to an early warning system, a system that we know exists in Japan and Mexico and other places. Are you up to speed on this yet?
I am, and we do have a representative from Berkeley
Right.
that sits on the commission.
Got it.
And I actually had some interesting conversations about that, and I'm getting up to speed. But I think that is going to happen. I think that is being pursued now. I think we will see that in the near future because it makes sense if you can prepare.
And especially in this county. I mean, with Diablo right nearby. I mean, look, I don't know a ton about the safety of Diablo. I know it's in question, but if there is an issue, I mean, I would think that this county specifically would want to be able to be prepared 10, 30 seconds, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's helpful. What you do with that 10 to 30 seconds is what's most critical, because we don't want to create panic. We want to create controlled action and behaviors. So with the early warning system also comes a whole lot of education on what do you do with that 10 seconds? How do you react? What should they be thinking? And so I think there's a lot more to just, just being notified. I think there's more to it that we will be certainly involved in.
And speaking of Diablo, I'm sure you know that Dr. Michael Peck filed a dissenting professional opinion that was recently leaked. The Associated Press picked it up. He said on the record, actually it wasn't on the record, it was in a confidential report, that while he doesn't think Diablo is unsafe, he is concerned about whether the plant's ready for strong shaking. I know you're new to the commission and it's a state commission, but where do we go with this?
Well, I don't think any tests or any examination will ever alleviate the possibility or concern from people. I think we have to trust the experts. I think we have to examine the information. I think it's being done now. I think it's being done appropriately with the right people at the table. And at the end of the day, Diablo was built to a standard. And if that is what we feel is safe, then I think we have to accept that. Not everybody's going to accept it, understand, and not everybody's going to believe the expert that's tell us, and there's always going to be a sense of fear. But the reality is I think PG&E is spending a lot of money, a lot of effort. I think there's a lot of focus. There was a former senator from San Luis County, Sam Blakesley, that brought it in focus when he was with the Senate. Those are good things. Examining those issues are good things.
But what's interesting, in the wake of this release, Senator Barbara Boxer, who happens to chair the environmental committee, is calling a hearing in D.C. She's one of our senators, so that complicates it a bit.
Yeah, and in all fairness to her, I don't know what information she has or she believes, and I'm very much of the opinion that you become very educated before you offer an opinion. So I'm making an assumption that either she has some information or it's simply driven by concerns of her constituents wanting to focus on, is it safe?
His name is Ian Parkinson. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.